Good morning, Sneha.
Good morning, Rahul.
Hey, do you know what are we going to learn today?
No, I don't have any idea. Do you have any?
Yes, today our English teacher, Mr. Rohit, is going to explain the poem named Rain on the Roof, which is composed by Coates Kinney.
Oh, wow! He explains very nicely. I'm fond of his teaching. He explains each line of the poem so beautifully that I'm a fan of his teaching. I'm really getting excited to learn this poem from him in our class.
Okay, I understand your feeling. So what are we waiting for? Let's get ready for his class.
This video is for grade 9 students and it is based on the explanation of the poem named Rain on the Roof, which is composed by Coates Kinney. And the reason for opting today as the best day to discuss this poem is just because I felt that monsoon has already made us feel overjoyed with its showers of raindrops. And I know that you all must be also excited like me to be absorbed by the feeling of poet expressed in this poem. But before that, I would like to share the things that we are going to learn during discussion of this poem. So dear children, I would like to bring in your kind concern that in this video we are going to learn the whole poem in 4 sections which needs to be discussed while explanation of this poem, and all these sections are going to be discussed in detail by me for your benefit and welfare. In the first part, we are going to discuss the brief description about the poet. That means we are going to learn something related to his life, something related to his achievements, or you can say the achievements he achieved in writing. Second part will be related to the introduction to the poem. That means we need to have a clear idea about the message that the poet wants to give us through this poem without going through the each line given in stanzas. Next, third part is related to difficult words. In order to understand, in order to feel the expression. And the fourth part is related to the explanation of stanza, which is the most important part, where I'm going to discuss each stanza, what the poet is actually trying to convey us through those lines in each stanzas mentioned in the poem. With these all parts which I have listed over here, now I am moving or proceeding towards my first part. So we have come into our first part of a discussion which is related to the introduction, or you can say a brief description about the poet. The first fact that I am going to highlight over here is the date of birth and the place of his birth too. So over here it is mentioned that he has taken birth this beautiful world on 24th November 1826 in United States. Second, Coates Kinney was an American lawyer. He was also a politician, journalist and poet. Third, he was partly educated at Antioch College, Yellow Springs, located in Ohio, and studied law with Thomas Corian. Fourth, he died on 25th January 1904 at the age of 77. And the last but not the least, his work, that means his literary work, which includes first, that is the Kyoka. It was published in the year 1855. Later, in 1888, he has got another writing that was named as Lyrics of the Idea and Real. Third, in the year of 1899, he has got his another work published with name Mists of Fire. And the last but not the least is the poem that we are going to learn in this video, that is Rain on the Roof. And my dear students, I want to tell you that this poem has helped him to gain popularity among the people, among the writers present in those era. Now, the second part is introduction to the poem. From the title of the poem, Rain on the Roof, we can get a crystal picture of what this poem is actually about. My dear students, in this poem, the poet shares his feeling after hearing the pattering sound of raindrops. He states the fact that the tinkling sound of raindrops churns up the sweet memories associated with his past, which had actually settled at the floor of his heart. He also expresses his beautiful memory he has of his mother during his childhood. He even admits that the raindrops helps him to revive the fanciful imagination in the form of dreams. Now, let's proceed towards the detailed explanation, followed by the discussion of hard words as I have told you earlier. Before moving on with explanation, I would like to extract few hard words whose meanings you need to know for better understanding, and this discussion of hard words will be done as per the stanza. First stanza, I am going to enlist these words which are flashing on the screen in front of you so that you can note it down in your or notebooks. So the first word in my list is humid. It refers something which is full of moisture. B. Shadows. This word refers to the moisture-laden clouds which cast a shadow on the earth. That means generally during the rainy season we often see that before the rain, the dark clouds, they used to cover the entire sky, and because of that the light of the sun gets completely eliminated. As a result, the whole surface or the whole atmosphere gets darkened. So over here, shadows means the same. Third word is hover. Hover means to move around something. You all might have seen drone. Drone used to circle around in the sky to have a clear topographic view of the surface. In the same way, these clouds, they used to move around in the corners of the sky so that they can cover the entire sphere, so that they can cover the entire sky. Fourth word is melancholy. This word means sad. Fifth is bliss. Bliss means happiness. And the last in the first stanza is cottage chamber. This word means bedroom. So after coming to know the meaning of the difficult words, now it's a chance or it's a time to have the explanation of the first stanza, which goes like this. In the first stanza, the poet is saying that when humid shadows hover, as I discussed earlier, here humid shadows refer to dark clouds that are moisture laden, or you can say in a simpler words, full of water. The poet is saying that when such clouds move around to enclose every corners of the sky, which is full of stars during night time and are about to rain. They cast shadows on the earth, which means that complete darkness prevails on the earth as the heavenly bodies, including stars or moon, are covered up by these clouds that results in the spread of darkness over the earth. At that moment, the sad darkness of the night is washed off by the raindrops, which seem like tears falling in the sky. In other way, we can say that the enlightened sky, due to the presence of the stars and other, feels delighted, but suddenly when it gets entrapped in the darkness caused by these clouds, feels sad and develops grief or pain in his heart. Hence, in order to free itself from the loads of emotion or burden of pain which are levied upon its heart, the sky cries out and shed its tear, which are later experienced by us in the form of raindrops. So, my dear students, over here the poet is comparing raindrops to tears, and therefore he says that the dark sky, which seems to very sad, it appears as if it is crying, and the raindrops are the tears shed by it. Later, he adds that it's like a blessing to lie on the bed with comfort as the temperature of the atmosphere, or you can say environment, gets cool after rain. So with this, I end up the explanation of the first stanza. Now, before continuing with the explanation of the second stanza, I would like you to pen down meanings of these hard words for hassle-free learning. So the first word which I am going to discuss over here is tinkle, which means short, light, ringing sound. Second is shingles. Shingles are the rectangular wooden tiles used on the roof. Third word is echo, which means repeated sound. You all must be aware of this term, especially those who love science. In science, in chapters of science, you might have studied this term under the chapter named sound. So, echo means repeated sound. That means the sound which repeats at a fixed interval. Fourth word is woof. Woof means the thread woven across the loom. Second last word is patter. Patter refers to the sound of raindrops. And the last word under this stanza is busy being. Over here, busy being refers to the human beings. But in this poem, the poet is using this word busy being to refer himself. So my dear students, it's a turn for the explanation. In the second stanza, the poet describes his feelings when he hears the raindrops striking the rooftop of his house. He says that whenever he hears the rain falling on the rooftop, the pattering sound of raindrops reverberates, that is, it reflects after striking the surface of his heart and creates echoing effect in his dreams. He has many different fanciful imaginations which comes in the dream. He adds that this sound of the rain falling on the rooftop creates many new different dreams in his mind, and therefore he admits by saying that as he listens to the patter of the rain upon the roof, he has many new dreams in his mind, and the memories of the past gets refreshed in the form of his dreams. So with this, the second stanza also gets over. At last, we have reached third stanza, where again I am going to discuss the hard words and their meanings. So the first word which I am going to discuss over here is This is an old poetic word for before. Second is dawn, which means daybreak. Third is list, which is again an old poetic word used for listen. And the last is the word refrain. Refrain actually is a repeated part, or you can say refrain refers to a repeated part of a song or a poem. But over here, the poet has used this word to refer to the sound of the rain. Now, my dear students, in the last stanza, that is the third stanza, the poet introduces his mother. He says that he is dreaming of his mother. As he had told in previous stanza, that rain helps him to recall the memories of past, amongst which the most beautiful memory that he remembers is the memory of his mother, who is no longer alive. He revives the memory and says that during his childhood, or you can say in his younger days, his mother used to love him a lot. She used to consider him a darling, which means dearest, and therefore she would let him sleep till daybreak, that means till dawn, and have sweet dreams. The poet can still feel that his mother is looking at him as he listens to the song made by the raindrops falling on the rooftop of his room. The sound of the rain makes him correlate the past with his present. That's why the poet is moved by the sound of the raindrops falling on the shingles of his room. So, with this, the explanation of the third stanza is also complete. Finally, after successful learning of each stanza mentioned in the poem, we also need to find it out what type of the poem is this. That means what kind of poem the rain on the roof is actually. So my dear students, I need to tell you, Rain on the Roof, composed by Coates Kinney, is a poem lauding the healing power of rain, especially when heard from a cozy bed. It's what message actually the poet wants to give us through this poem, because every poem has some message in it. So we need to understand that what the message poet tries to give to its readers through this poem. And that also I want to tell you, which goes like this. The poem conveys the message that the rain is Mother Nature's way of showing her healing properties. That means however discomforted you are, however tensionized you are because of the problems, because of adversities, because of the odds in your life, but Mother Nature has a power, has a healing power through which it tries to she tries to relieve every creature, whether it's an animal, whether it's a human being or birds, whoever it is. She used to relieve them from the pain, from the grief, from the agony by showering raindrops. So that's why the poet says that nature, mother, has a healing property, and that property is exhibited through the raindrops during rainy season. And generally, whenever the rain occurs and when we are in open, we feel very light, we feel very comforted when those raindrops falls on our body, as the poet felt when he was lying on the bed during night time. The poet also wants to say over here that the healing property of nature leaves everlasting memory in the minds of humans with its presence, fragrance, and sound, apart from the experience of humans within. The actual explanation of the poem is over. One more thing that I want to cover, in addition to explanation of the stanzas, besides discussion of the messages, or besides the discussion of message conveyed through this poem, I want to also highlight the theme of the poem. What is the main theme of this poem? So the first, it has been enlisted in points which are flashing on this screen. So the first point under the theme of the poem is, it is highlighting the healing power of rain, which I have also discussed while discussing the message of the poem. Second, the musical sound of raindrops falling on the rooftop at night has the ability to revive sweet memories and arouse fancies in an otherwise busy mind. And the last, rain exhibits its soothing effect by comforting an overworked mind by taking it back to its lovely past. So these points were actually the part of the theme of the poem. That means these are the points which were discussed under the theme of the poem. So if anyone asks you what is the main theme of the poem, so over there you can answer these points. Okay.